Good morning. The other day you may have seen a video where I introduced you to various resources for greyhound racing. Today I'm going to put some of those into practice, run through some of the things I think about when looking at greyhounds. The first race of today is the 11:03 at Hall Green, so we're going to have a quick look at that, see if we can predict where the likely runner will come from. So the first thing we looked at yesterday was the Racing Post site. So if we go to the Greyhound section, pull up the cards and select the first race, the 11:03 at Hall Green. Very quickly we can scan down here and we'll see that it is giving a post pick of 541, traps 5, 4 and 1. We'll come back to this page shortly, but let's just have a look at the other resources as well. The betting Racing Post site, I've already got the Hall Green page coming up, and you see it's thinking of 3, 4 and 5. Again, I'll come back to this page in a moment. The Sporting Life, the selections for January the 27th, it's saying 415, so it's the same as the Racing Post. So we're looking at the moment 1, 4, 5 and 3. And also the other one that you may want to think about going to is the greyhounddata.com site. Specifically, if you look at the tracks section, go to United Kingdom, pull up the particular page for the track, Hall Green in this case, and let's have a look at the trap statistics. So these are the types of things that I'm going to be looking at. So this table here shows you the percentage of wins coming from each trap, and you can choose which particular year. So obviously this is a 2014 season. If you go to the 2013, you'll look at there's been 2,500 races. What you'll see is, generally speaking, over a long period of time, over a long number of races, these things generally balance out. If we look at the current season, all the races we're looking at 55% for the outside boxes, 45% for the inside boxes. If we look at this particular race, I think it's a 480. Yes, 480. 480 metre race. We're getting for the outside traps 60%, so that's 58%, sorry. So there's a long term, there seems to be a little bit of a bias towards the outside traps at Hall Green. Let's have a look at some of the other stats that we've got. If there's an outside bias, we can run our little virtual race simulator here, and clearly 4, 5, 6 are in there. But if there's an inside bias, we can see that trap 4 is still up there. So that may be something that we need to consider. Generally speaking, you can't decide if there's a bias at a track on any one particular meeting until a few races have gone. So normally I don't get involved in the first 2 or 3 races anyway. But just as a way of example and as a simple exercise, I thought I'd do this video for the first race, which will be coming up in about 6 minutes. So what we've actually seen is we've had mention of 1, 3, 4 and 5. So 2 and 6 aren't mentioned at all. But we've seen from this indicator here that 6 is prominent. We've seen from sorry, wrong one. We've seen from here that 6 long term tends to be prominent as well. So there's a possible option for you, is to lay trap 2, which has a very poor record historically at Hall Green. There isn't a show of odds as yet, so I expect trap 2 is actually quite high in the odds. But that's a possibility. A lay of trap 2 is a possibility. Also, if we look at the dog performance, at Hall Green, this particular track, you'll see that 6 has won 25% of its races. the trap record at Hall Green. This is for not the trap itself, but the dog running from that trap at Hall Green. It's historical record for that. And you'll see again 6, that's getting on for 30% of races, where everything else is a bit lower than that. So again, it's tending to point towards the outside traps. The recent trap stats, past 62 races, you can see that traps 4, 5, 6 are all in double figures. The lower traps aren't. So again, are we looking at a Dutch of 4, 5, 6 as a possible for the first race? Quick look at this average thing, second, last 6 races. See, that's quite a good indicator for trap 1, which has been mentioned. Trap 2, 128 days since the last one at Hall Green. Trap 6 has actually got quite a good record at Hall Green. It's in profit. Yeah, so I'm angling towards a Dutch of 4, 5, 6, or possibly a lay of trap 2. So that's what I would tend to think of. There isn't anything else that flags up, it jumps out at me at the moment. We've got 3 minutes to go. What I'm going to do is pause the video and come back so that we've nearly off, so we can see the odds, and we'll make a decision then, based on the return. But I'm looking at a Dutch of traps 4, 5 and 6 for this particular race. Keeping in mind, however, that we don't have any indication of whether there's a track bias at this track for this particular meeting. We won't know that until 4 or 5 races into the meeting. Okay, I'll pause the video. I'll see you shortly. Okay, welcome back. There's 30 seconds to go. I've configured the Dutching window, and you can see that we're looking at a return of roughly 50% of stake. I'm not actually going to bet on this because, as I say, I tend not to get involved in the first race or two at meetings. So it's really just to discuss the odds available. Now you'll see that traps 4 and 5 and 9 are my potential Dutches, which are going to return in the order of 69 and 70% of my stake, which is actually a good return. The possible lay of trap 2, which was another angle that I thought about, that's a reasonable price as well. You can see that the market is essentially discounting trap 3, Caribbean Moon. So yeah, my preferred angle for this would probably be a Dutch of traps 4, 5 and 6. So yes, because this race doesn't go in play, what I'll do is I'll pause the video, come back, and we'll have a look at the result. So keep in mind, traps 4, 5 and 6 as the potential lay for this, returning in the order of 70 quid for a £100 stake overall. Okay, we're back again, just waiting on the results to come through, and if we switch back to here, there you go, trap 6 is winner. So that's the sort of procedure that I would use to help me decide what to do in a particular dog race.